Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about the ugly stepsister.
The butt-fugly stepsister.
What Jack said, the butt-fugly stepsister, actually the ugly stepsister, from writer-director Emilie Blichfeldt. I might have mispronounced that, and I apologize if I did. The movie is a Norwegian body horror take on Cinderella. It takes the story of Cinderella and tells it from the perspective of one of her stepsisters. In this case, a girl named Elvira. On the surface, she's trying to win the heart of the prince in competition with her much more beautiful sister.
Yeah.
But underneath it all, she's struggling with her body image.
Yeah.
And this is a movie about one's struggles with body image, all the directions from which that comes from.
Yeah.
There's the internal insecurity that she's struggling with at all times. There's the pressure from the adults in her life, her mom. There's the societal pressure, because she literally lives in like the ultimate patriarchy with the king.
A kingdom, yeah.
And trying to adhere to the very strict beauty standards of this kingdom and this prince.
Yeah, and like, holy crap, this kingdom has an entire fucking industry based around this beauty standard, much like our own. But like, it goes to even more insane lengths.
This is a movie that takes a classic fairy tale and is using it as a metaphor for what women go through on a daily basis.
Yeah, the ugly stepsister is not ugly, she's just a teenager.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, you got a bump on your nose. We have to fix that with a chisel and hammer.
Every little thing.
You know?
And that's a great example of how the movie is actually talking about modern times, but using this fantasy lens. There's plastic surgery in this world.
Yeah, fairy tale plastic surgery, but it's not like bibbidi bobbidi boo. It's like, yeah, let's just cut you open with no anesthetic.
Oh, yeah.
That.
This movie is very explicit that it views most plastic surgery for purely cosmetic reasons as literally butchering your body.
Yes.
It's very explicit with that in this movie, hence it being a body horror movie, because this is all about her mutilating herself.
Yeah.
Internally and externally. I don't necessarily mean in her mind. I mean literally her internal organs.
Yeah.
And her external organs in order to adhere to the standards that's required of her. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the movie also shows she has very little choice in that matter either. There's very little options given to the women in this world.
The movie also makes this very, 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 very pointed commentary in that the best thing that a woman can be in this world is ignored.
True. There's a lot of commentary about that when it comes to the youngest sister.
Yeah, because the youngest stepsister is totally overlooked throughout the movie on purpose. It's part of the story.
Partially because she's younger than the other two, so she's not eligible for what's happening.
Yeah, so she's the sole voice of reason in the entire story. Like, even the adults that are kind of on Elvira, the ugly stepsister's side, are ultimately reinforcing this horrible, horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see like the weird systemic way this happens, because you have her mom, the evil, wicked stepmother, who is marrying for the sole purpose of securing financial security, essentially.
Yeah.
Only to find out that they aren't financially secure. They were actually trying to marry her
for their money, which they don't got.
And then when the dad dies, she's kind of left with, well, fuck, now what do I do?
Which leads to actually one of my favorite metaphors of the fucking movie, which is the dead dad.
Yes.
Because he dies at the fucking dinner table, and throughout the entire movie, he's just left there to rot.
And you just watch him as he gets more and more gnarly the longer the movie goes.
Yes. Well, now the maggots are forming. And, there's Cinderella, like, crying, oh, daddy, and there are, like, all these worms crawling.
Yeah. So because of this, she really wants her daughter to marry the prince because it would solve all their problems.
Yeah.
But even if she can't marry the prince, if she does a great showing at this prince ball thing, then some other rich guy might pick her up.
Yeah. Some lord or count or something.
And then all of them would be taken care of at that point because they'd be family and they'd be taken under that guy's wing and they would have that financial security again, which is a bargain that she made. And now that she's gotten too old for it, now it's her daughter's turn to do it. And she wants her daughter to do it and not her stepdaughter because it's her actual daughter. The other thing that's really fucked up about this whole situation is that she's actually one of the better girls when it comes to like the dancing.
Yeah, she's the dancer who's actually talented.
She's actually good at it, but they keep putting her in the back because she's not as pretty as the other girls.
Yeah.
So you understand why she's pushed in this direction of doing all this stuff to her body, because like society is pushing her in a direction where if you want to succeed at something as physical as dancing, despite all the talent involved, you still gotta look good.
Yes. Then we run into the obsession angle of it. She is obsessed with marrying this prince.
Oh, yeah.
And we meet this prince, and he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, he's a piece of shit. He's an asshole, you know?
She can't see it because she is essentially the obsessed fangirl.
Yes.
She's read all of his books.
Yeah, this prince writes really mediocre poetry.
And she's fantasized about him her whole life. She can't see that he's an asshole even when he's insulting her to her face.
Yeah.
All she sees is the flaws that he points out and agrees with.
Yeah. Woo.
It's a very toxic situation entirely.
This is another movie where, like, you're not going to find an angel.
There's no angel in this situation. Even Cinderella is kind of a bitch at the beginning of the movie. Like, at the beginning of the movie, if you were to choose who was the wicked stepsister, it would have been her at the beginning.
Yes.
And then by the end of the movie, it kind of flips.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it other than there's a very explicit use of magical realism in this movie. They don't want it to come across as too fantastical, but magic is happening in this.
Yeah, like the fairy godmother does show up.
So if you know all the Cinderella story, all that stuff happens with Cinderella, but there's some twists and turns in there that aren't necessarily part of the original folklore.
Like the dress isn't made by mice, it's made by maggots.
Well, they're little silkworms.
Little silkworms, yeah, that hatch out of her dead dad's like fucking body and dress together.
They're maggots that grow into silkworms and then like create the dress.
Go with it.
The thing that's really new in this really is everything that the fucking stepsister is going through, because the stepsister, she does not have a fairy godmother. She has her mother.
Yeah.
And her mother is pushing her to plastic surgery. Her mother is forcing her to take dancing classes. Her mother is forcing her to take etiquette classes. Her mother is like straight up like pimping her out at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least pimping herself out in order to like get her dresses and shit that she can't even fit into. So she has to lose weight, which leads to some things we'll talk about in the spoiler section, because it's actually one of my favorite elements of the movie and probably the most body horror element of the movie.
Gets good and gross.
Oh, it gets gnarly. This movie, bring a barf bag. It gets disgusting. You see everything.
Yeah.
And the stuff you don't see, the sound effects.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Movie's A+.
A+. This is a fantastic movie, a great body horror film, a great fairy tale horror film.
Yeah.
Two movies that it reminded me of that would make great double features for, but it would have to be separate double features because the two movies aren't like each other. This movie is like A Company of Wolves in its fairy tale, folklore,
magical realism.
100%. But it's like The Substance in substance.
Yes.
The movie is currently available in theaters. However, it is also a Shudder movie, so it will eventually end up on Shudder if you can't make it out to theaters. But I do recommend seeing it on the big screen if you think you can stomach it. With that said, my fellow Gorehounds, let us move on to the spoilers. A couple things that are definitely spoilers for this movie. First off, Cinderella in this version of the story is not a virgin.
No.
She actually, when she decides she's going to pursue the prince, has to break up with her stable boy boyfriend that she's been fucking in the stables secretly, God knows how long.
Yeah.
The other thing that's a big spoiler for this movie is the tapeworm of it all.
Yeah, the tapeworm.
One of the things that is a problem for Elvira, one of her anxiety coping mechanisms is to eat pastries, which if you're trying to lose weight is a very bad coping mechanism.
Yeah, and one of the things that's probably worth pointing out is that Elvira is naturally thinner than Cinderella is normally.
What the difference is that it affects Elvira's face more. Elvira, she'll get like the puffy cheeks and the puffy neck and stuff like that. Like I got like this fucking chubby neck thing. Whereas Cinderella is one of those women where she can gain weight, but very little of it is in her face.
Yeah.
So she's constantly like having her face judged. Like when she goes to plastic surgery, they talk about her jowls and all that stuff and her nose or whatever. So she wants to lose weight. She also wants to fit in her dress. So she acquires a tapeworm at one point in this movie, swallows the tapeworm, and then allows the tapeworm to fester and feed on all of the anxiety pastries that she eats and hides in her room.
Yeah, and her sister is begging her not to do this.
Oh yeah. And she was given an antidote for the tapeworm that she doesn't fucking take. At least not until it's way too late.
Yeah, like the idea is that she's supposed to make it until the ball, and then she takes the antidote, and then she passes the worm.
The wise choice would have been to take it right before the ball, pass the worm, like the day before.
Yeah.
And then go to the ball. But she doesn't. As a result of this, she herself is getting more and more sickly as the movie goes on. Even as she is like putting on more makeup and trying to hide it and stuff and getting the plastic surgery, which fucks up her nose.
Oh god, that one point when they start talking about like breast augmentation after you've seen so much of the horrific plastic surgery that they've already done, and you're like, what is that gonna be?
The dental surgery.
Yeah, well, they do the dental surgery, and then they fucking like break her nose, and
so eventually the whole Cinderella thing happens. Cinderella captures his heart. He goes searching for the shoe.
They do a more clever thing than the Cinderella stories usually do, which is Cinderella's wearing a veil the entire time.
Yeah. That being said, if this prince literally did not remember what her face looked like, I would have believed it because he would have been staring at her boobs the whole time.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he was that kind of douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've been like, oh, she's wearing a veil, whatever. Yeah, nice rack.
Because the prince is very much established as being super fucking shallow.
Yes.
Elvira, when confronted with potentially losing the prince because of her sister's foot, she tries to cut off her foot, or at least make her foot fit the shoe by cutting off the pieces that don't fit because it's a much smaller foot.
Doesn't get it in one blow.
No.
She hacks at it for a bit.
Eventually, her sister makes her take the antidote for the tapeworm, which then spews out of her body this massive fucking worm. Massive worm. This thing takes forever to get out of her fucking throat. Like we're like in an Evil Dead like splatter horror movie now with the blood gushing.
Yeah, it reminded me of like a shot in a trauma movie. Actually, it was like, and
the sister's trying to pull it out and it just doesn't stop. It's so gross and gnarly.
Yeah, because the entire time she's like also throwing up. It's just
it's gross as shit. And so the movie ends with Cinderella getting the prince, which isn't really a happy ending for her because the prince is an asshole and she had to give up her loved one to get it.
Yeah.
It doesn't end happily for Elvira either because she fucking mutilates herself. She can't walk anymore. Both her feet are fucked up.
Yeah,
and her mom cuts off her other foot.
Yeah, her mom cuts off her other foot and she falls down the fucking stairs, breaks her fucking nose, loses several of her teeth, and she's just the ugly stepsister because she has been so mutilated.
It makes its point and then some.
Yeah.
It does not fucking sugarcoat at all what it's saying. In that sense, it reminds me a lot of The Substance.
Yes.
Where The Substance just went all in, like a jackhammer into your skull.
Yes, it's not subtle. And I appreciated its unsubtlety.
Me too. With that said, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Well, you can find me here at YouTube every weeknight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where you can come out and hang with me and hail Satan! How about you?
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me on various social media platforms, but these days I primarily use Blue Sky, so follow me on there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages, and remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. And if you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag Elvira, layer of the white worm. Which, if you've seen the end of this movie, then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And with that said, my fellow gorehounds, peace out, and we'll catch y'all later.